Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. 안녕하세요. 내 이름은 Kiki Kurniawan 입니다. I'm a tabib and you can ask me about Islamic medicine for the next. But Alhamdulillah, mashallah, this time I'm very happy because I could make a content that I aimed at my Muslim brothers and sisters in Korea there. So the story was yesterday I could see it on the YouTube homepage, right? And it turns out I saw a lot of posts from my brother. There are posts from Ujung Opa, Daud Kim, Yongsworld, Rasheed and Saheed. And anyway, mashallah, made me very motivated. Those who at first might not have known Islam and were born not from an Islamic family, but with the guidance that Allah gave, they were able to recognize the beauty of Islam. And of course, it makes me most grateful and encouraged to be more active in studying Islam more deeply. So spirit, inshallah. The things they experienced really made me recall the story of my life in the past. Even though I was born from a Muslim family and lived in a Muslim environment, even in Muslim majority country, but in fact, it turns only a few percent truly study Islam and practice Islam as a whole. And I just choose Islam or consciously realized it was possible since the age of 17 or 18 maybe. Now I'm 20 years old. I was initially antipathic toward Islam, even though Islam was my own religion. But I felt uncomfortable if every matter was always related to Islam. In the past, I assumed that Islam was enough in a masjid, not other place. There was no need to bring Islam. But apparently, what I understood all was wrong. Okay, don't try this at home. But never mind, this time I will not talk about myself, but this time I will give some gifts to my brothers and sisters in Korea to know a little about our culture here, which lives in a predominantly Muslim country. What is the atmosphere of Ramadan like here? Because from the vlog I saw from my brothers and sisters in Korea, it might be very difficult. It takes a big struggle to carry out Ramadan worship, for fasting, for sahur in the midst of condition where is Islam in a minority. So hopefully this video can give them great enthusiasm that we really support and pray for you. Muslim must fire on! Spirit. But of course, as we know that Ramadan this time is not like Ramadan before, we also feel what you feel, where all our forms of worship here are very limited. So this time Ramadan is arguably the most sad Ramadan. But hopefully the corona outbreak that is currently sweeping all of us can be a test for us to continue working to improve our faith and pity of Allah. Okay, let's get to the point. What we do usually do when Ramadan is. Check this out. So we have a habit of iftar together, or we have used to call it buka bersama or bukber. This bukber is a mandatory moment once a year because we can meet our friends from childhood, from elementary school, middle school friends, high school friends, to college friends. Of course, the friends of the organization, friends in the village, basically all kinds of friends that we have a special schedule. So in every Ramadan, we must have a schedule to meet with them from 1 till up to 30 Ramadan. Usually we gather in a cafe or even in the house of one of our friends, or also in a masjid or in special places for bukber. I was so busy arranging the schedule at Ramadan last year that even I could only eat at home with my family maybe only 5 or 6 times in a month. The rest of the time I spend my bukber together with my friends. And maybe that answers the question why until now I'm still single. Maybe because I'm too wasteful. And okay, never mind. Don't confide in me. Just forget. And here are some snippets of picture when I booked last year. Okay, this is it. And hopefully if you can come here later, we can hang out together. I will make you taste nasi liwet. So nasi liwet is kind of traditional Sundanese food. I happened to be born as a Sundanese in West Java. Tarawih prayer in Jamaah. What's interesting here, at the beginning of the month of Ramadan, usually every masjid is very full. Starting from the children of young men, ladies and gentlemen to grandparents would come to the masjid to perform Tarawih prayers with Jamaah. In fact, every masjid commit must prepare more energy for Tarawih prayers because worshippers who are present can overflow out of the masjid and even to the street. Yeah, it's serious. But after approaching the middle of Ramadan towards the end, for those who have already received holiday allowance, the large Jamaah of Tarawih begins to move from masjid to meet markets and malls. Because there will be a lot of unreasonable discounts starting from cake, clothing and parcel. Now here is some documentation in the Bandung area. How is the atmosphere here about Tarawih?
Allahu Akbar. وقل للذين أوتوا الكتاب مالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم من ناصرين ألم تر إلى الذين أوتوا نصيبا من الدين ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله المصير قل إن تخفوا ما في صدوركم أو تبدوه يعلم الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك.
Oh yeah, the number of Tarawih prayers here are various in each masjid. There are 11 rak'ats, but they are up also to 23 rak'ats, and that depends on the policies of the imam or DKM of the masjid. Usually for Persis Circle and Muhammadiyah, there are only 11 rak'ats, but for Nahdlatul Ulama, there are usually 23 rak'ats. But no matter how many rak'ats, it doesn't matter. We can tolerate each other here, inshallah. If my brothers and sisters in Korea awoke using alarms, here we have various methods to wake the sahur. From the usual method or announced in the masjid to perform street orchestras, and that makes our eyes open wide because it's so noisy. And someday you have to join in trying to wake up with this method. Well, here are some video footage that I got to wake the sahur from various regions.
Boleh simbah-simbah, bapak yang cantik-cantik, mas-mas yang ganteng-ganteng, dan adik-adik yang manis-manis, dan semua warga Jatisari, sahur!
Dicepatkan Bu, dicepatkan. Jam 3:30 udah ini. Ayo kawan, sahur.
Henceforth is Mabit, the night for build up iman and taqwa. Or it's similar with itikaf in masjid. Mabit is an activity that we usually done on the last 10 days of Ramadan. Even though not everyone does it, this is a moment that is really missed when Ramadan will end. Many of us brought various equipment and supplies to stay in the masjid for 10 days. During the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, we usually don't go home but spend the night at masjid. So at that time, the masjid become our camping ground. From the starting of the mattress to the utensils, we prepare all the basic toiletries. Everyone even had stalls that he had ordered from afar, are lined up neatly like we were camping in the forest. In fact, not infrequently, there are also those who make tent. And what's interesting in the activity, during itikaf in the masjid, we read a lot of Quran, listening the lectures, memorizing the Quran, reading Islamic books, even in touch with Muslim brothers and sisters from various regions. Then how about eating? We usually pay donation to the masjid commit, but not infrequently our money is finally returned because there is a lot of help for us from the munfikin. We focus in order to increase the number of pious deeds on the last day of Ramadan. And here we cry a lot of because we very sad. We feel very sad to be abandoned by this most glorious month.
Di sini kita lagi itikaf di Masjid Habibur Rahman 10 hari terakhir bulan Ramadan.
I get my happiness from Islam.
If most of the father and young people spend itikaf at the masjid, then the mothers usually spend time for making various kinds of Eid cake. So automatically when Idul Fitri arrives, we can try a lot of cakes both at home or to a neighbor's house. And every house here will open house and invite guests to come taste all the food in the house. My own favorite cake is the sago cake and the mint chocolate bean cake, which must be mandatory at home every year. Now, in addition to making cakes, usually the mothers also often sew for Eid cloths, or what we call as beduk cloths. And before I record, I have beduk cloths from my friends. Thank you for Siva and Ramdan to bring this for me. I will apply it couple with you. Thank you very much. And of course, Ramadan moment are moment once a year. We are obliged to buy clothes for us to wear when the Idul Fitri, and when Idul Fitri, a lot of models take to the streets. They are dressed very neatly in very beautiful and very handsome condition. It is like after we have been quarantined in Ramadan for a month and cleansed by our hearts, then when our physical must be clean too, like a newborn baby, of course. So we are here wearing the best clothes. In addition to being a moment together of whole family, usually we also take photos together. So it is automatically compulsory to use the best clothes. There is another interesting thing that before the holiday arrives, a lot of many changers take to the streets. The aim is to exchange money, which has begun to be rather worn in exchange for smaller fraction with better conditions. The goal is for what will certainly be distributed to relatives or younger siblings who usually do not work. Maybe it's similar to Ang Pao if it's in Hinduism or Buddhism. So usually the small children, when the Idul Fitri arrives, it can be very much money, and the money is still good, still freshly like a new. When the siblings fasting with full, is usually given a larger fraction of money, but if the fast is not finished, a smaller fraction is money smaller fraction of money is given. This is to motivate them to want to learn to fast next year even better. I remember having to exchange my money now, but I don't have a lot of money. Oh my god. I must to prepare this. Fitrah is a mandatory requirement that is very mandatory when the month of Ramadan arrives, because this is a moment to cleanse yourself annually. Each person will collect money or basic food item worth 2.5 kilograms. Furthermore, the money or basic goods are given to the amilin or the zakat fitrah collectors. Henceforth distribute to those who are entitled. Usually when the moment of takbiran arrives or the night before the Eid, we start busy to collect and also share everything before sunrise. Thus, there will be a lot of people who come to enjoy the holiday and to feel happy in the moments of Idul Fitri. The next is the Eid prayer and greetings. When the holiday arrives or Idul Fitri arrives, We usually do the prayer in a large field. Can be on the soccer field, can be on any field that matters broadly. After the Salat Eid is held, there is usually a lecture or khutbah, and usually the khutbah moment is very touching. So after that, we were allowed to greet each other, to handshake and make greetings fast, or greet with other people while giving money as one form of infinite happiness, because it becomes clean both physical and mentally. We usually do family greetings or shake hands while apologizing and crying. Anyway, so moments that are very touching. After we are sorry, then the next is a big meal. The holiday menu is definitely a must, is ketupat or rice cake. So ketupat is made from boiled rice for several hours until it finally turns into solid. Usually served with chicken chips. Oh, great. I want ketupat with chicken chips. But usually for me, I don't eat too much because my mouth is still not used to eating a lot. And usually we start to eat well after half of a month or a month after Ramadan. And usually a few days after the Idul Fitri, my family and I used to fulfill our saum or our fasting by doing fasting sunnah sawal for 5 days. The goal is to perfect our good deeds. Hopefully our fasting worship is accepted by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, insya Allah. And what happened after the holiday, after the Eid? For Eid Fitri itself, we usually carry out for 2 days in a row and become a national holiday, even usually coupled with other holidays to reach a week. And at this moment, we usually use the time for go on an excursion, sorry, or going home, or visiting the homes or distant relatives. But whether the feast moment this time will be like the feast moment of the previous year, we do not know, and hopefully Allah will immediately lift the corona from the earth of Indonesia and other hemispheres before the feast. Inshallah, amin ya rabbal alamin. And maybe that's all the few things that I can tell in the moment of Ramadan in Indonesia. Now, how about the moment of Ramadan or the moment of Idul Fitri in Korea or elsewhere? I will wait for your next vlog. And hopefully in the following year, Allah will give us the opportunity to be in touch with both of you come to here or me to come there, inshallah. Okay, maybe this is the last. Thank you very much for watching, and kamsahamnida, minal aidin wal faizin, masalama, Ramadan Mubarak.
I'm happy I'm a Muslim, that's what makes me happy, and that's the truth. Because I'm happy, because I have